Hey, so we haven't done a video on this channel in a little bit. That's pretty fun. That's pretty cool, right? I'm already dead. Anyways, welcome to the video. It's been a little while since I've uploaded on this channel, primarily because I didn't really have much stuff to talk about, and I had a checkup video that kind of went over a bunch of stuff I wanted to talk about anyway. While the video is unlisted, you can still go to my main channel and go to my checkup video like playlists, and you can go check it out if you're interested. Do keep in mind there's a lot of more darker themes or like more depressing themes in that video, primarily because like I wasn't doing great. And don't get me wrong, this video is not meant to be like a mock-up checkup video, because like I said in that last checkup video, it's the last checkup video for a long while, and a year hasn't even passed yet. So even if I do decide to make another checkup video, I'm gonna wait till at least like a year and a half at the very least. Like not a year exactly, a year and a half at least. But sorry, I know there's no point in me really explaining that, because you know this isn't even the channel where that video was uploaded and whatever. But that's besides the point. So what's this video gonna be about? Well, if you've already read the title, I want to talk a little more about like a bit of my life that I usually poke fun at. And I don't mind talking about it because I think it's honestly kind of hilarious. And I've technically talked about it a little bit in my first kind of video like this, where I was talking about how in 2020 I felt like I was manipulated, I felt like I was blackmailed, all kinds of different shit like that. Still up for debate whether or not that was actually something that happened or not, whether it was actually manipulation or whatever. Who cares? That's not the point of this video. Basically, what we're going to be talking about a bit is more of like how I feel about like romance and all that shit, because it's like, who gives a flying fuck? Who gives a flying fuck about that? Now, let me give you guys a little brief rundown for those who might be out of the blue or haven't seen the first little talking video that I did of this, or hell, you haven't seen any of my checkup videos from my main channel. Maybe this is the first video of mine you're seeing or whatever. If that's the case, then welcome. I apologize that this is the first way how you're introduced to my shit, but hey, welcome all the same. And I'm dead again. Wow, that's crazy. So long story short, I had a crush on someone in 2019, and it went about as well as you might have expected it to. There was a lot of things involved, which I won't go over all those topics in this video, but let's just say there were some things where I felt hurt, felt betrayed, blah blah blah, whatever. And for a decent while, I was not interested in romance at all. Now, what I didn't explain in that video, and what I never really talked about outside of that, because I've probably mentioned some stuff in relation to it there and there, but I've never gone into like full detail or anything like that. So just to brief up, and this is just for background purposes, obviously, just so you guys can understand like my point of view of all this before we actually do start talking about the topic. I apologize if it's a little scuffed, but I mean, look at the channel you're on. You should have expected this coming in. Just saying, just saying. But I've had like 2 other relationships afterwards, and the first one I had afterwards was arguably the worst one, because like, oh my god, like you would think that someone being clingy would be like a perk in a relationship. No, fuck that. That shit is awful. That is, for me at least, it was genuinely one of the worst experiences. And I was like, oh god, is that how this one person felt with me? I'm like, well, that's my karma, I suppose. Which, you know what, fair. If that's God's like fucked up, like immature way of giving me karma, like, I mean, I won't say I don't deserve it, but like, dude, come on, man. But anyways, that was like in 2021, lasted about a month, that relationship. And then there was one more I had right afterwards that was like in 2022, which was like, well, in technicality, it lasted longer. To me, it felt like it didn't even last a month, primarily because of how that relationship went. Which, I don't care all that much, if I'm being honest, because the person in that relationship that I was with was like, they're still cool. I still like talk to them on occasion, not too often, because I know they're busy with stuff, and I usually just don't like to disturb them, and I got my own stuff I'm doing, so it's like, I try not to be bothersome. I try not to be intrusive, even though I'm sure they probably don't mind, but I know there's some days where they just kind of want to, you know, chillax, do their own thing, or work with their own stuff, and like, hey, that's fair and valid. So like overall, like there were some other problems with that relationship at the time, but like, I don't care, it's all in the past, right? And after that one, I essentially just went like, yeah, I don't give a fuck anymore. Now, one thing I didn't notice at the time, and this is where we're gonna actually start talking about the topic of like, how do I feel about romance? How do I feel about like dating? How do I feel about all that? What do I really give a shit about for it, if anything at all? The best way I can really explain it, I suppose, or at the very least to like give you guys a good idea as to how I felt in those relationships, is like how I form relationships, whether it be friendships or in forms of like communicating with acquaintances or whatever, right? Usually I think about what's the person like as like, you know, a person. Like, what's their personalities? What kind of stuff do they like? Do they like, you know, I don't know, like TV shows, movies? Do they like going out to like walks in the park? Do they like eating at restaurants? What do they like doing? You know, learn a bit about them and whatever. And usually I grow closer to those with similar or maybe even like the same interests. So like, for example, if I meet someone who's very interested in Project Moon stuff, like Limbus Company or Lobotomy Corporation, then obviously I'm going to connect a little more with that person, because it's like, hey, we share a similar interest in whatever, right? And that by itself is nothing crazy, right? Like usually at most I'll be like friends with that person, maybe an acquaintance or whatever. Heavily depends, right? But usually nothing more will come out of that. The only times where I ever really... So like, not including the relationship in 2020, which again, we won't talk too much about that because no. But long story short, how my relationships formed after that was usually a form of a, like, I guess a deeper connection. Something I feel that I couldn't have with like a normal friendship. But it wasn't in like a romantic way, if that makes any sense. Like, I wanted it to be more seen like, oh, this person, I want to be closer than like, than the usual friends, blah, 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 what the fuck ever, right? And like, there's nothing wrong with that. There's a lot of relationships that are built like that. It's like, you know, yeah, they obviously do the sort of stuff that like couples do, but they don't typically do anything that's like considered like a romantic or whatever. Like, they're just closer friends in a sense, and they just, you know, have the perks of being a couple or whatever. There's a lot of relationships that are like that, and it's like, there's nothing wrong with that, obviously. And that's kind of how those connections were slowly forming for me with the last two individuals that I was with. First one didn't take a hint, but then again, the first one never did take a hint. Is that technically a jab at them? Absolutely. I'm dead though, so it doesn't matter. But with the second person, like, I feel like they understood my positioning before, because I told them about like my past relationships. It was like, and then they told me a bit about that, like their stuff, and it was like we kind of resonated in that accord. Like, we understood each other and was like yeah, we obviously did some like things that were like couple related or whatever, but it wasn't anything like too crazy or whatever, because we both didn't really like that kind of stuff. Which, who can blame us? Who can blame us? Who can blame me, you know? Because it's cringe. I apologize if the chair is squeaking. I got a new chair since the last video I made on this channel, and it's squeaky as fuck. It's more comfortable, but it's squeaky as fuck, and I hate it. You know, long story short, my connections with people in terms of like those kind of relationships, it was more or less like, do I just want to do more stuff with them, you know? Like, do I want to be closer to this person? And that was kind of it. I never thought about like anything like really romantic. Like, you know how like some people, when they think of romantic stuff, they're like, oh, walks on the beach, or like going out to a picnic and watching the sunset, you know, like that kind of stuff, right? I don't give a fuck about that kind of stuff. Like, yeah, it's nice, but I'm like, that's what YouTube's for, bitch. I don't like, you just want a walk on the beach, and I'm just like, there are YouTube videos for that. And you probably think it's like, well, yeah, you can't do that. Like, if you do it in person with that individual, then there's like, you know, you get like a better feeling from it, which like, I guess so. I guess you got a good point. You're not wrong. But like, to me, it's like, that doesn't matter. That kind of stuff means like nothing to me, really. Like, it's kind of like with fireworks for 4th of July, which is even worse with how America is in the world. Like, that's not a celebration, that is a threat. But basically, right, basically, like it's like fireworks, you know? Like you see them a lot as a kid, right? Your parents probably showed you fireworks or whatever, and you're just like, wow, these are cool. But like, then you see them again every year, and you're just like, yeah, they're still cool, but it's like you've already seen it over and over again. It's like it doesn't really excite you unless you're just a fan of explosives, I suppose. That sounds a little weird out of context, but you know what I mean, right? Like, if you're a fan of fireworks or just explosives in general, you might not understand that comparison, but if you're someone like me who doesn't really give too much of a shit about seeing fireworks for the 50th time in a row, then you're like, yeah, you probably get it. You're probably like, yeah, that's fair. That's kind of how I am with, like, those kind of situations. Is like, don't get me wrong, like, some of the stuff I haven't really seen ever, like, the sunset on the beach, never done that in person, but, like, I don't care. I don't fucking care. Overall, though, is like, I don't really give a damn about, like, romantic kind of stuff. And at the time, I thought it was like my brain doing some form of a trauma response to the past relationships I had and being like, this shit's mid as fuck. Like, I thought it was a trauma response, which, given my past history with some shit that's kind of similar, it's not, it wasn't a bad assumption. Not even a terrible assumption, really. But it's like, you know, it is what it is. You're like, what the fuck. Then I saw a video uploaded by Jaden Animations, talking about her experiences of being aro-ace, or aromantic and asexual, if you will. Which, if you don't know what those two terms mean, asexual is basically like little to no feeling towards like anything remotely intimate and like that kind of regard, you know what I mean? Like, it's like some people don't have that kind of like interest for it, nor do they really give a damn, or in some cases they just don't understand why other people like it, you know? Why is there always a bunch of people here? Like, I get this is like the most detailed part of the city, but it's like, there's other places to go, guys. Come on. You lag my game because this computer's old as fuck and I'm dead. That's awesome. Anyways, so I watched that video from Jaden Animations, which is it's a really good video, by the way. I recommend like watching it if you're someone who's aromantic, asexual, or both. Or maybe you don't know a bit about it and you kind of want to learn a little more about what it's like as someone who doesn't have, who is aromantic or asexual, you know? Like, it could be like a learning experience for you. But anyways, I was kind of sitting back just like thinking about it, and at the time it was like, you know, like the when I did my checkup video for 2023, I was like, was it 20? No, it was 2023. Yes, it was. 2023. I was like, hey, aromantic, poggers, right? Because like, that's true. And some of my friends were just kind of like, are you sure? Like, and in their defense, I don't blame them. I don't blame them for being like, are you positive? And I just have to go like, pretty sure. Like, I don't blame them. I get why they had to ask me that, but it's like, I think at the time when I first started saying stuff in relation to that, it was more or less I was kind of like, I wanted to get away from the idea of romance overall, and I thought that the good way to start with that would be to be like, hey, I'm aromantic, because then people won't even fucking try. But then I remembered that it, for some dumb idiots on the internet, is an instigator. Trust me, I would know because of the stupid ass simp I've been dealing with on TikTok, which, depending on how that situation goes, that might be another video for this channel to talk about. Probably not, depending on how it goes, but depending on how more stupid it gets, it might become a topic that I talk about on this channel. So I guess do look out for that if you're interested. But yeah, I guess at the time I thought it would be like, hey, if I say that I'm this, then no one's gonna really try anything with this, because like, who the fuck's gonna try to be romantic or do anything like that with somebody who obviously has little to no interest in it? And overall, I didn't have any interest in it. I didn't want to date anybody. I didn't want to ever get into a relationship again. I didn't even want to consider the ideas of that shit, because I was like, no, bro, no. Like, there's... And again, it could have been like a trauma response kind of thing. Because of all the shit that I endured in some past relationships and whatever. that my brain was sort of like, no, you don't want a relationship, you big fat fucking dummy. I don't know why I use the term fat. I'm actually quite the opposite. Very underweight I am. So I don't know why I use the term fat there. But anyways, it could be just trauma response. I don't know. But the main point though, the main ordeal with it is that over time, while at first, if it was like a form of a trauma response at first, later down the line, it's slowly actually becoming like straight up the truth. And like whenever I see things in terms of romance or relationships or whatever, and I'm like watching, like nowadays I'm just sort of like, I mean, like I get it, but like, I don't know, do I really need that? And then I started thinking more about the perks of not being in a relationship, and noticed that a lot of those perks that come with being single is honestly better for me. And for some people, it might not seem better for them, which if that's the case, that's totally fine, of course. I'm not saying that you gotta agree with how I see relationships or its perks or anything, or downsides or whatever, because at the end of the day, y'all gotta remember this, these are just my opinions on the whole topic and everything. Like, it's not the definitive answer or whatever, and I'm hoping that's obvious. I shouldn't have to say it, but I know how some people see this and just be like, you're giving the greatest advice, or you have the shittiest advice, and I'm like, motherfucker, this was never advice. It was just me talking about my situation and just sort of like making a video out of it. Like, it wasn't anything to take seriously at all. I don't know why you're either thanking me or cursing me. Not that that's ever happened, of course, but I'm just saying to make it like more obvious that like you shouldn't take these videos too seriously, because it's all just my opinion. But anyway, sorry. So the benefits that come from not being in a relationship correlate with a lot of things that I like. First of all, I typically like being alone most of the time. Like, I like being by myself. Don't get me wrong, not all the time. There's a lot of times where I prefer to like hang out with a group of friends, right? And like, you know, I prefer to do stuff with them and hang out, but like sometimes I at the very least, for every day, I at least need a couple of hours by myself. I need it because I genuinely cannot function otherwise. I am a huge introvert, and I don't have the biggest social battery ever. And since I have a job now, which, yeah, just a fun fact, for those who have seen the last checkup video on the main channel, and you know, you're wondering, like, yes, I do have a job now. Maybe I'll go over it in another video or sometime in the future, but anyways, usually because I now have my job and everything, it's a little harder for me to want to be more social after work. And it's not a social job per se, but I'm usually talking to my coworkers and everything there, and it's like, you know, that alone can be pretty draining. But also, it's like a really, I wouldn't say tiring, because most of the time we're not really doing anything, because it's a slow place. It's a really slow place. Not a lot of stuff happens, but when it does, you're like, interesting. All right, cool. But anyways, it's like, yeah, I usually need to have a couple of hours to myself, either in my room listening to music, playing games, or just laying there with my thoughts. It does not matter. As long as I got some time to myself and I could just, you know, do whatever I want, that's what matters to me. And it sucks because I guess I want to drive. I don't know. That's not actually the truth. I originally said it because, like, I wanted to get humans off my back, and I know I can't do it. I need to learn how Uber works. That'll make my life a fucking whole lot easier. Probably. I don't know. It's that. Who cares? Another perk that comes with being single is, like, I get to focus a little more on my own wants, right? Because, like, in relationships, like, yeah, you obviously gotta think about what you want, all in all. Like, how I want to live, but, like, you also gotta think about, like, your partner's wants, needs, all that sort of stuff, which, you know, it's technically like a normal friendship. Like, sometimes you gotta think about what your friends want and everything, be respectful, all that shit. Don't be a fucking, like, obviously say, like, don't be a dick, but it's a little more so with relationships, because, you know, you need that connection, you need those communications, all that stuff, in order for it to be a healthy relationship, one that makes sense, one that functions, all that shit. So, like, fucking that up is quite the problem. And for me, it's like, as someone who has a lot of fucking self-degrading shit, like, I'm so self-conscious and all that sort of stuff. I honestly think it's better for me to work on myself more because I need to, for one, and here's the thing, how can I help out others that I care about if I don't help out myself, you know? It's like, that's kind of the ordeal. Don't get me wrong, still depressed, still don't give a fuck if I die, but at the very least, I'm gonna spite God and see how long I can live, because clearly, he's against me. He's against me. Like, right before I was gonna make this video, start recording and everything, people started trying to start stuff with me and, like, do things and make me do stuff, and I'm like, there's no way that fairy in the sky ain't fucking plotting against me. It's too coincidental at this point. No, it's too often to be considered a coincidence. It's not even coincidental at this point. This is clearly a threat. This is sabotage. It's really what it is. It is. I don't care what anyone says. This shit's sabotage. Where was I? Fuck, I kind of lost track, ain't gonna lie. But yeah, no, it's better to, like, work on myself and whatever, and, like, you know, that's good, you know, making sure I'm at the very least somewhat mentally sane. But another thing too, and it's like, it's not really more of a perk or anything, but it's more or less how I feel. I just prefer things just staying as friends, you know? It's like, it's better that way for me. And like, cause like, my thought is, I can have damn near unlimited amount of friends. Like, I can have as many friends as I want, with no problem, and usually you have only like one partner. And yes, I'm aware of polyamorous relationships. Hell, my last relationship, I was a part of one, so I am aware of it, and I obviously respect it and everything. Like I said, I was literally in one. I got no problem with it at all. But I don't know, man. I don't like giving some people exclusive treatment. At least I try not to. Because, like, to me, there's just no point, right? I don't know. Maybe I'm weird for thinking that. Maybe I'm weird for being like, I don't want to give anybody, like, this kind of treatment. Why can't I give everybody XYZ? Like, that might be stupid to some people. Maybe immature or just unrealistic. I don't know. But that's just how I am, because I'd overall just want to try to treat people as equally as I can. You can tell, despite the fact that I'm American. You wouldn't assume if you heard what I was at first. Other than, like, the perks and me being like, yeah, I don't give a fuck about, like, romance and stuff, what's, like, the overall final verdict for me, you may ask? Like, do I overall just never want to be in a relationship? And the short answer is no. At least, not forever. Don't get me wrong, at this very moment in time, I have very little interest in getting into a relationship, because I'm still figuring out a lot of things about my life and whatnot. Like, you know, like, I finally got into a job that, like, first of all, I really do like, and it's minimum wage, obviously. That's nothing too great, but it's a start. And I want to see how far I can get with it, how much experience I can get for it to maybe in the future get a better job, or who knows, maybe get something else in a similar field. It heavily depends. I don't know what the future holds. 2020 taught me that. But, like, well, as of right now, I'm definitely, well, first off, I'm dead, even though as of right now, I have little to no interest in getting into a relationship. It's most likely not going to stay like that forever. Now, when will I change my mind on this? Will this have to wait till I figure everything out in life? Probably not, no. If I had to take, like, a guess, maybe I'll change my mind in, like, a few months, a year, maybe a couple years. It just really heavily depends on what I got going for myself in my life before I can, like, sit down and say to myself, like, all right, if I want this and whatever, it's like, how am I gonna go through with this and whatever? So I would definitely would rather figure out a lot more stuff about my life first before I actually do even consider the idea. Don't get me wrong, but, like, I don't have to finish all that, because with how life is, with how bullshit life is, you're never gonna know exactly, like, the exact answers to everything you want. Hell, even when you do, like, get to a point where you have, like, a family, maybe you got like a loving spouse and some kids or whatever, even then, that's still just the beginning of your life, dog. Because then you got other things to go through, and you're never going to have the answers to it. You can have stuff from advice that other people in similar situations like they can give to you and whatever, but you're never gonna know the exact answer, you know? So who knows, maybe if I'm like, even if I'm not even like 50% through, I'm like, okay, I kind of at the very least understand what I want, or at the very least what I want to try to go for in life. And I could be like, you know, if someone comes up and like, they kind of fill a certain criteria of like something I'd want in a relationship, then who knows, maybe I'll make something out of it. But as of right now, I need to focus a lot more on myself and just sort of do what I think is right for me. Yeah, that's that's kind of how I see it. I'm not gonna go over like criteria shit for what I'd want in a relationship because I'm not opening that floodgates. Like I said, I have a simp in my fucking TikTok DMs, and that shit's... At first it was funny, but now it's just sad. Now it's just cringe and sad, dude. Like, oh my god, it's actually disgusting. Again, might make a video on that depending on how the situation goes, but I also might not. It just heavily depends. Yeah, that's kind of what I want to talk about for this video. It wasn't like a topic that sort of was in my mind for a bit. It was actually a topic I kind of wanted to talk about for a pretty decent while, but I had a lot of shit going on in real life and whatever. So I just never really got to it. And hell, for this channel, the next video that I was gonna make was actually gonna be me talking about the Sonic the Hedgehog 3 movie. And while I did actually record that and was getting it like edited and everything, I never actually finished the edits and just outright scrapped the video. So yeah, there's that, which is unfortunate, but it's whatever. It's not the first video I scrapped, definitely won't be the last either. But yeah, I just wanted to talk about this sort of topic, if you will, because, you know, I feel like those kind of relationships have played a major role in my life in terms of fucking me over. I won't deny it. It has fucked me over in more ways than one. It's genuinely made me like a more cynical, blunt individual. It's made me more crude in a lot of cases, but in more ways than one, it's also made me a lot more compassionate, a lot more caring and understanding for those in either similar situations or for those who have gotten in situations that I wish I would have gotten into, you know? If that makes sense? Because, like, at the end of the day, we're human, we make mistakes, we learn from our mistakes, blah, 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 all that cringe shit that I'm sure you guys are already aware about hearing. Why am I going so fucking slow? And, like, I don't know, man. It's like, I got too much other shit to worry about in life to be like, yeah, I should let this control me. Like, dude, I'm so way past that, dude. I say way past that. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm not fully moved on from a lot of shit because there's still some, like, heart pains I have from like certain things that remind me of certain whatevers. It just doesn't control me as badly as it used to. Like, I'm still fully functional even during those sections. Do I feel hella uncomfortable when it happens? Abso-fucking-lutely, but I do not let it control my life because there's really no reason for it to. Like, hell, I'm the winner for being single, if you ask me. So, like, I don't care what anyone says. Y'all think you're winning in life because you got a relationship? Nah, I'm winning. I'm winning. I'm over here making shitty YouTube videos. But anyway, yeah, that's all I really wanted to talk about. This video was, like, a little shorter than I thought it was going to make it be. Hell, I only just now reached the 30-minute mark for the recording, and even then I'm going to be clipping out a lot of stuff that is just unnecessary. But, yeah, that's kind of all it is. Hope you guys enjoyed me just kind of blabbering about. I'll try to make more of these kind of videos in the future. I don't know what else I'll make again. If the TikTok simp gets a little too crazy, then I'll probably make a video talking about that because that could be pretty funny and whatever. And if you are new to this channel or you came from my original main channel, please do just check out my main channel because I am doing some funny stuff on there, you know, trying to make more highlight videos and some other funny stuff. And check out my TikTok too, because I've been posting a lot more often there with some shorter clips and shit, and it's just overall been a fun time. But yeah, anyways, that's all I got for this video. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you have a good day, night, afternoon, whatever it is when you're watching this video. And yeah, I don't got a continuation or a joke for this.